Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother have my house for his wedding? I have younger brothers, and one of them I've always gotten along with really well. Until his girlfriend came along. It was a gradual change in our relationship. But I think my brother made a mistake of making some fair/unfair comparisons between her and me. For example, I've overheard him and his girlfriend in a heated argument when she was trying to quietly hiss angrily at him for praising his sister's cooking, my cooking, more than her cooking. But it is their relationship, and I haven't ever gotten involved in those niggles, even though I am aware of them. Anyway, they got engaged recently, and while my brother's family is here, all of her family needs to travel here for the wedding. When they got engaged and came over to our house to break the news to us, we congratulated them, and then my brother said that they had something to ask us. His fiancée then asked if we could move out and live with my parents for 3 weeks, while they used our house for her family to stay in, both before and after the wedding. I have a lovely big house that I live in close to the city with my husband and 5 children. Plenty of rooms, pool and gardens which we have spent years establishing. My kids catch the bus to school from here, a 10-minute bus ride, and I work from home, and my husband works about 10 minutes drive away. My parents, on the other hand, live another 40 minutes away on rural acreage. And while we have stayed at their house every now and then with our children, we have never stayed more than a weekend. Anyway, after I got over the initial shock of her request, with my brother just sitting there nodding his head, I said no, it wouldn't be possible, though I would love to be able to help them with their wedding in other ways, and I suggested we could host a family gathering at ours. I tried to explain that it is not suitable for my family with 5 kids to stay with my parents for 3 weeks. We have school, work logistics, and my parents are getting older, and probably would not be able to cope with 5 noisy kids around all the time. It did not go down very well at all. My brother started angrily telling me that I was being very rude and unhelpful, and that this was only for 3 weeks and would save them a lot of money accommodating all of her family. His fiancée walked out yelling behind her, as she always knew I thought myself better than her. My brother followed her out, and my husband and I were left to sit there, in shock at what just transpired. Am I being selfish for not wanting to do what they requested and move my family out of our home for 3 weeks? Edit. I should add that my brother knows that a couple years ago, my husband, my kids, and I willingly moved out of our house and into a caravan to travel around the country for 4 months. So I can see why he would think it would be okay for us to move out for 3 weeks to my parents. He probably thinks we could have a little bit of a staycation, and my parents' property has far more space than what we had when we were traveling around in a caravan. But him not having kids yet, he doesn't understand the school/work/aging parents side of things. So yes, I reckon he could see me as being quite selfish for not wanting to give up my convenient lifestyle at a time of his choosing. Now for the top comments. Only 3 weeks? Only 5 kids? Only your home? Only for some strangers you've never met? Why aren't you agreeing immediately? That sounds so reasonable. They are entitled jackwagons. This is why hotels and Airbnb exist. Not day home. Not day home. Who knows what an entire wing of a family could do or damage while you're roughly an hour away for nearly a month? Damages they wouldn't bother helping repair because we're family now. Sounds like maybe sister-in-law lied about having a nice house, etc. with her husband-to-be. But the reality is, it's your house. Why else would they need you gone for so long, and why are they letting her family stay? To be so dismissive of the comfort of your parents, your brother's own parents, and the issue this could cost you and your children. Growing children need sleep. If you do this, they'd have to wake up more than an hour earlier to get to school and such on time. Also in some states, letting them stay for 3 weeks is legally giving them permission to be considered occupants of the house. And you need a heck of a lot of paperwork to evict multiple people. Sister-in-law's reaction to her calm refusal is also a bit suspect. Immediately accusing you of thinking so highly of yourself? I think someone's projecting. Even if they calm down and apologize, don't do it. This is a headache waiting to happen, and you offering to help them in other ways was more than enough. They're entitled. I had the same thoughts about the fiancé lying about the house. She sounds like a peach. Yes on the occupancy issue. Opie needs to check out what the local laws are to have that knowledge in her back pocket. This comment is right on it. Not today home. What the holy hell? Not today home. She has some nerve. And your brother isn't much better. If any more conversation comes up, just tell them no, and there will be no further discussion. Not today home. They ask, they got an answer. If they had asked if they could live with you for 3 weeks, I could have seen where they were coming from. But asking your huge family to just go and live with your parents because they said so? Yeah, no. Not today home. Since when is your home a hotel anyone else is entitled to use? Besides, I wouldn't do it even if your parents lived down the street. Do you know these people? How can they guarantee that your things would be respected? How are they going to pay for any damage/repairs? Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out on a bachelorette party when I'm the maid of honor? I went to a bachelorette party in Atlantic City. After a 4-hour drive, the bride, we'll call her Melissa, could not be bothered to get out of her seat and give me a hug or introduce me to the other girls. No one made any effort to get to know me at dinner. When the bill came, the girls said we'd split it evenly, which wasn't fair to me because I don't drink alcohol, and they all ordered multiple drinks. There were 11 girls, and I didn't want to be the only one who didn't want to split the bill. So I ended up having to pay $65 for my $13 meal. Then we went to a nightclub. When we got out around 2 a.m., my ears were ringing so much. I couldn't sleep that night. Despite not sleeping, I got up early Saturday because we were going to an escape room at noon. I made the entire house breakfast so the girls could eat quickly and we could make it on time. But they overslept and we missed it. Then we got brunch, and the ride over was a nightmare. I should mention I was appointed designated driver. Half the girls took an Uber since my car only seats 5 people, and the other half went with me, including Melissa. It was storming in AC, and the streets were flooded. I'm talking water up to my thighs. I didn't think my old car would make it. The girls could see what kind of car I drive. I decided to complain about how they can't file their taxes jointly with their husbands because their combined income would be over $400,000, all while I chauffeured them. Not only was splitting the bill unfair to me because I don't drink, but since I was driving everyone around, I was the only one paying for gas and parking fees. They insisted on splitting the brunch bill too, so I had to pay $45 for my $15 lunch. After the rain stopped, we went to the boardwalk to do a scavenger hunt. Melissa chose the teams, and she didn't even put me on her team. I'm her maid of honor, and yet she didn't want to spend that extra time with her best friend. Then the girls wanted to get drinks on the boardwalk, where I was again excluded from conversation. I was the only quirky girl amongst sorority types. We were scheduled for a booze cruise with an arrival time of 5:30 p.m., so as it started nearing 5, I said we should get going. But the girls wanted to finish their drinks, and we had to scramble to get out of there. Again, half the girls took an Uber, and the other half went with me, but we couldn't find my car. Melissa started flipping out about missing the cruise, so the girls took an Uber and ditched me in the parking garage. At this point, I broke down and started sobbing. I drove back to the Airbnb, $450 per person, and packed up my stuff. I left around 9 p.m. and drove through the night. No one texted me to see if I made it home. Melissa hasn't talked to me since. I guess she's mad at me for leaving. Am I the a-hole for leaving? Did I overreact? Not today home. They took advantage of you all night, and then had the audacity to ditch you in a parking garage after you have been footing the bill for half of the transportation and part of their meals beyond what you actually owed. If I were you and she doesn't reach out, I wouldn't even go to the wedding based on how she has treated you. You deserve better and an apology. They've essentially been treating you as a tag-along chauffeur. Thank you. I completely agree with you. At this point, I think I will still go to the wedding though, because I already paid for my bridesmaid/maid of honor dress and my hair appointment. I may as well get the fancy wedding dinner at the very least. I'm not an entitled person at all, but so far I've gotten nothing out of this and have just been used and discarded. If you go, do your thing, and get your meal until you got all you need, then dip out. You were used and used and used. Time for you to be your own advocate. Alternatively, if you have another close friend nearby, maybe consider using your dress and fancy hair and go out for a nice evening/dinner with a friend who actually appreciates you instead of the wedding. That way nothing goes to waste, and you don't have to be around people who only want you around if you can be their step stool. Not stay home. The fact that she didn't even bother to check up on you after ditching you and then having you disappear into the night shows that she doesn't really care. And this is one of those friendships where you might have just outgrown each other. Thank you for your comment. I do agree that we've outgrown each other. She's used me time and time again, and I'm finally putting my foot down. I'm just sick of this. I give so much to my friends, and people use me for my kindness and empathy. She doesn't care about me at all. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my boyfriend's vegan daughter for forcing her to eat shawarma? My boyfriend, 42, father of Megan, 16, and I, 37, widow with twins, 10, have been together for 2 years now. He is awesome. We don't live together, but we see each other a lot. My girls love him, and we've quickly become one family. However, Megan and I have a bit of tension between us, but we're working on it. Last week, I've arranged a backyard cookout with family and friends. I've invited my boyfriend and Megan. He accepted the invitation, but Megan was like, cookout. Not sure. Meat and whatnot. She's 100% vegan and goes by the nickname Megan the Vegan. Anyway, she said she wasn't coming, and I said no problem. I got busy with guests, and the main dish was grilled chicken shawarma. To my surprise, Megan showed up with my boyfriend and went straight to sit with her phone watching YouTube. He asked my boyfriend why he didn't give me the heads up, and he said he called, but clearly my phone was inside the entire time. Everyone grabbed their plates and I started serving them shawarma one by one. Then Megan showed up in front of me extending her empty plate for me to fill. I felt confused at first. I asked if she was going to have shawarma like the others, and she said, "Ew, no," and proceeded to say she expected me to have something vegan to grill. I was like, "I'm sorry, what's that?" She made a face and went on a long detailed explanation about the vegan grill recipes I could have made to include her in the gathering. I said I didn't even know she was coming, let alone know that she wanted specific vegan grill recipe. I said shawarma was all I had, and directed her towards salad/appetizers to choose from. But she pitched a hissy fit about how I made zero effort to include her in the party. Even worse, I was basically forcing her to eat shawarma, but not preparing a vegan recipe for her knowing she's vegan and can't eat meat. I argued that this wasn't true, and that it wasn't my fault she decided to show last minute and at least could have brought something to eat. She said, "Daddy called you like 100 times already, and you probably purposely avoided answering since you probably had nothing prepared for me and didn't even want me to come in the first place." She put the plate down and sat watching us eat, saying I excluded her from even sitting at the table with us, even though she herself said she didn't want to sit and watch us eat meat. It was not cool. Mood 100% ruined. She refused to speak to me or say goodbye before leaving. Just kept claiming I made her go hungry at my home and disrespected her lifestyle by directly forcing meat on her. My boyfriend said it was just miscommunication, but I stated I'm not required to cook for her. She wanted me to apologize for the poor experience, but I refused. Now for the comments. Not day home. Welcome to the teenage years. Her father should have handled her attitude. He's probably got plenty of vegan food at his home he could have brought instead of relying on OP to cater for a dietary lifestyle. She didn't know she had to provide for the event. Based on her behavior in this instance, I'm betting Megan didn't get her nickname because she's the nicest vegan. Not day home. It would be different if she had said she was coming, but since her father wasn't getting a reply, if it was that important, they could have grabbed her vegan whatever on the way. Your boyfriend sucks for not telling her to shut her mouth and quit being an insufferable brat. She could eat salad or whatever. She chose not to. That is correct, and I agree with you. Thanks for your input. Yeah, Megan the Vegan pulled this one on purpose. Frankly, anyone with dietary restrictions wanting to attend a function should never expect to be catered to. They should bring their own food, and if there are options for them provided, that is great. Agreed. I feel this was on her and my boyfriend. I've never cooked for her before, so I'm not sure why she was expecting me to cook this time. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's sister it should be him she holds accountable and not me? This is going to sound kinda crazy, but here goes. I, a 40 female, had a son last year, and I spent the whole time not knowing I was pregnant. My husband and I have tried to have baby for 6 years to no avail. I was diagnosed with endo and PCOS, which we were told would make it incredibly difficult. We tried fertility medication, and it didn't help. After 6 years, we were just too broken by it all, that we took a break and then decided we just needed to focus on being child-free and happy. It was tough, and for years I was so unhappy. But I longed to have a baby of my own, and knew it wouldn't be fair to adopt when I was so hung up on that connection. It was June of last year when my son was born. A week before, I started getting terrible back pains, followed by cramping and vomiting. My husband brought me to the hospital on the advice of our doctor, and that's when we were told I was giving birth. My stomach was flat, but I had no cravings, felt no movement. I ended up needing a C-section because where he was made it difficult for him to come out without harm to both of us. I'm summing it up because my birth story would not fit the character limit. We were in shock, but considering my son was healthy and I recovered well within the first week, we got lucky. Everyone was stunned. Family, friends, us most of all. Anyway, now on to the point. Everyone was just so happy for us and seemed to celebrate the fact that we had our own surprise baby. But a couple of weeks ago at my husband's parents' house, my husband's sister straight up said she believed I knew and didn't tell her, and how pissed she was at me for keeping it to myself. My husband told her she was being ridiculous. She told me I owed it to her to tell her she was becoming an aunt. Then I asked her why she was blaming me instead of my husband. She said that I didn't tell him either. I told her I would have told my husband had I known, and if she honestly believes I knew all along, then he would have known too. And she should direct her anger and accountability at him because I didn't owe it to her to tell her. He would be the one to owe her that in a sense. She is claiming I made it sound like she's nothing. But she's only my in-law. She is his sister is the way I look at it. So it should be more on him than me for playing this weird blame game she wants to play. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She is making this about her when it's not. Tell her to Google cryptic pregnancies and shut the hell up. Not the a-hole. But to be honest, just don't play into this weird freaking breakdown she's having. Don't entertain it at all. You're right that Opie shouldn't entertain crazy sister-in-law's theory. If you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at your brother is such a weird reaction. Not the a-hole. You had a surprise baby. While not common, it does happen. Next time she brings it up, blame her for not telling you that you were pregnant. She'll be all like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Exactly. We didn't know as much as you didn't know. You owe it to her to tell her she's becoming an aunt. Would have been nice to know you were becoming a mom too. Lol. Congratulations on your new baby.